Well, after this young woman passed away, her mother wrote an email that was then leaked on social media and then to the press, suggesting that it was probably the pressure she was under from work that resulted in health issues that resulted in her death because she was young and otherwise healthy. When that email leaked to the press and was widely reported, it went viral on social media, and a lot of other people, especially young people across the country, started to identify and empathize with what this young woman had gone through, and started sharing more stories about how workspaces in India are in fact toxic and the expectations are too high, and the kind of pressure and the stress and the anxiety resulting from that actually causes very severe health issues. So this has now become an entire, sort of parallel movement in India where people are demanding better work culture and better, sort of treatment from their employers in corporate India across the board.
What is India's work culture like? Reports suggest Indian employees work longer hours than, say, China, Singapore, even Japan.
Well, undoubtedly, the Indian work culture is extremely competitive. Needless to say, that just the sheer numbers, when we talk about the population and the number of qualified people, and the idea that if you don't do this, someone's ready to take your spot all the time, puts an enormous amount of pressure on everyone who's working across sectors. I did quite a few conversations on social media and on my channel on YouTube about this sort of thing, and we got, we had young people writing to us from the legal sector, from the medical sector, from the consultants, from the IT sector, across the board, obviously media, about the fact that they're expected to be available and reachable on holidays and on Saturdays and Sundays and late nights and early mornings, and just taking time off to be by yourself or to be with your family is considered a weakness. I mean, we are a country where our most successful entrepreneur and our biggest movie star have gone on record to say that, if you want to be successful, you have to be willing to work 70-hour weeks. You have to be willing to give up family time. You have to be willing to give up sleep and me time and just constantly work. And that's the only way to be successful. And I think that idea is just really seeped into our culture, and it's caused severe mental health issues, anxiety, depression, and we don't have the infrastructure, the mental health infrastructure, to support everyone.
What has been the response from employers who have workers who complain about being overworked?
See, unfortunately, in India, our labor laws tend to be applied far better to factory floors than to the corporate setup. I think it's because factory floors are unionized and the corporate setup is not unionized. So a lot of times, informally, employers will consider this demand as whining or as snowflakey or Gen Z not being able to keep up. But I do think that we have a government now that has said that they're looking into the matter. We don't know what looking into entails, but one hopes that they will bring in some sort of enforced labor laws that will allow for work days to be capped at a certain number of hours, or overtime to be paid for those who are expected to work on weekends and on holidays. Maybe that will force corporate India to bring in some change.
Well, it appears that increasingly workers aren't afraid to voice their concerns, with industrial action from Samsung employees in Tamil Nadu staging a strike for weeks now. What are they calling for?
So that particular case is because the workers in that factory were registering a union, and they wanted to use the name of the company as part of the name of the union. And the company didn't want its name being used in the union's name, and that went to court. And now, effectively, the workers see this as just a roundabout way to stop the union from being registered. India has a culture of our factory workers always being vocal, always the unions being very active and demanding rights. I think the interesting thing is really it's the corporate sector in urban India that doesn't have as clear an idea of worker rights or employee rights as the factory workers do, and hopefully that will change.
There are also ongoing strikes by doctors after the rape and murder of one of their colleagues. Have changes been made in that particular sector? What have we seen?
Well, unfortunately, this is not the first protest that we have seen from junior doctors or resident doctors who are in their year of resident training across India. We've had protests like this in the past in Maharashtra and Delhi and other states. Right now, we're witnessing a protest in West Bengal because a young resident doctor who was on a very long shift decided to take a nap in a conference room or a seminar room and was raped and murdered while she was there. So the shocking part about this for everyone was here was a young woman who was at work, who was expected to work very long shifts, but didn't have a safe place in which she could just rest her eyes. Just the thought of it is atrocious. Junior doctors across the country have been demanding better working, facilities because obviously their work hours are extremely difficult. They're made to work multiple shifts. They don't have adequate place to rest. And since they tend to be the first line of treatment in any hospital, they're also exposed to anger and violence from aggrieved family members when a patient has a bad outcome. And we've seen a series of these very bad incidents happen across the country where doctors are attacked by angry family members who feel that they're not getting adequate treatment or service from the hospital. There've been repeated demands that these doctors be given better security and better work facilities in the way they work, and whether they have rooms to rest, whether there are security guards to assist them. The government has talked repeatedly about enforcing laws or rules that have already been drafted. They haven't been done so far. One hopes that they will be done from here onwards.
And overall, Faye, are we seeing a growing trend in more Indian workers voicing their concerns about work culture? And do you see a shift in attitudes happening anytime soon?
Unfortunately, not fast enough. While we were talking, in the last 2 weeks, we've had 2 deaths by suicide registered in Mumbai from one of the bridges that runs over the ocean, where 2 individuals have stopped their car on the bridge and just jumped off. We understand mental health issues leading from work pressure and depression. We don't, like I said, have the infrastructure to support people from a mental health point of view. We're not moving fast enough in terms of improving, work-life balance for individuals to be able to protect them from situations like this. And so I wish that I had a better answer to give you, but for me, from my point of view, it's not changing fast enough.
Faye D'Souza, really interesting to talk. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.